Hello, everyone. Give a few moments for folks to trickle in, grab some last-minute coffee or water, and then I'll take things away. Good morning, everyone. If you're just joining us, then we'll be starting super shortly. Just gonna wait for a few more folks to trickle in. And like I said, if you didn't hear me, if you're just coming on, this is your last chance to grab some coffee, use the bathroom or water, or pen and pencil, or pen and paper rather, for note taking, because that's always, easy to figure.
How quaint, pen and paper. That's amazing.
Yeah. Okay. I see a few more folks are trickling in, but we'll get underway. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on technologies for inclusive employment, education, and life. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Josh Creighton, the Community Engagement Specialist here at the Halifax Chamber, and your host for this morning. So thank you for joining us. We just wrapped up National Accessibility Week, a week where we celebrate and value the valuable contributions and leadership of Canadians with disabilities. As the Canadian government describes it, it is a week to highlight the work of individuals, organizations, and communities who are removing barriers and reflect on our ongoing efforts to become a better, more accessible, more disability inclusive Canada. To celebrate and honor this important week, we are excited to hear from today's presenters on solutions for today's employment and hiring challenges. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions for our presenters today. When we get to the Q&A section towards the end, feel free to type any other questions into the chat. Type them in as they come up, and we'll get them in the later portion of the session today with the last 10 minutes. So just so you don't forget them. And yeah, without further ado, I'll welcome Pete from Distinctability, our host for today.
Okay. Thanks very much, Josh. Hi, and welcome, and thanks to everybody for being here and hopefully wanting to hear what we have to say. It'll be worth it, I'm absolutely sure. We're going to introduce you to our completely new approach to help you move further and faster into more inclusive employment and address some of the employment challenges many organisations and sectors are facing in Nova Scotia today. And that's ESTC, Embedding Supportive Technology Capabilities. The service and the solution has been designed very specifically for you as employers. It's a service that combines potential employees, established technology supports for immediate and long-term embedding of understanding of technologies, and constant support and training for identified staff in your teams. At this point, it's only available here in Nova Scotia, thanks to the support and backing by CCRW, the Canadian National Body for Rehabilitation at Work, but very soon it will be available Canada-wide. So the Maritimes are in the vanguard of this movement as far as ESTC and employer-led use of assistive technologies are concerned. So let's introduce ourselves more appropriately and make our acknowledgements. So with that in mind, I'll hand over to Leslie Dunn, my colleague, to do that, to start that.
Good morning and welcome, everybody. My name is Leslie Dunn. I'm the Director of Communications and Workforce Development for Distinctability Brain in Hand Canada. Thank you for joining us today. We know you are going to be inspired, intrigued, and that you're going to leave with some great tools to help you move forward in solving your hiring needs. You're next, Kim.
Kim, you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I was waiting for something. I'm not sure what, but good morning, everybody. An invitation, I suppose. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kimberly Neal, and I'm the co-founder and managing director of Distinctability and Brain in Hand Canada. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with you today and to share this with you all and the information we're going to talk about. Just quickly, a little bit of background about how I became involved in this work and ever so passionate about it. I've worn all hats as part of the inclusive employment stakeholder equation, starting my career as a recruiter, a technology recruiter, tasked with hiring high volumes of individuals to be tech support. As a result of that, I often reached out to employment services within the community and started receiving referrals of folks with various disabilities and support needs. My job was then to source accommodations, technologies, and tools to help make those employees that we brought on board who needed some additional support to be able to put those into play to make the workplace more accessible and inclusive for them. Enjoyed that work so much that I actually went and worked for the municipal government as part of their employment services and program development team. Became very involved in the autism, neuro-inclusive, and mental health support, as well as, then went on to work for the Ontario Disability Employment Network, where I became involved in technology, models of support, as well as resources and working with employers to help expand these inclusive workplaces. So from there, here we are, met my partners, and we've created Distinctability, and you'll find out a little bit more about what we're all about very shortly. And I will hand it back over to Pete.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Pete Bennett then, formally now. And well, I've always been Pete Bennett actually, but I meant formally talking about myself a little. I'm from the UK, where I come from a small place just outside Liverpool. Now, for the last few years, I live in Nova Scotia on the south coast in a small place just outside Liverpool, which is really quite odd. But my background is an experience is in founding organizations in the digital learning and educational space, technology spaces for expanding development in organizations. But in the last 5 years, I've been working quite heavily in the assistive technology space, specifically those for individuals with hidden disabilities, those on the autism spectrum, those requiring mental health support. I'm working with organizations who support individuals or work with them. I'm Kim, and I founded Distinctability just a few years ago now, and we're creating a few waves and a few ripples, and yeah, that's our background really. I'm now going to just talk a little bit about how the session will pan out and the agenda and what we'll do. So we'll be presenting the session using slides and a video, a very inspiring video. And then at the end, there's a discussion and a Q&A session, which I know Josh is going to moderate and facilitate as far as that's concerned. Initially, Kim will give you a general brief overview of what we do, and then critically and key, Leslie will provide an important view of the employment landscape here in Nova Scotia, which is essential background, and introduce further the whole ESTC approach, what it does, how it works, and its background and the potential benefits for you as employers. Then we'll look at each of the two powerful solutions that combine to form the approach that we have created. Brain in Hand and Employer Connect. One is the immediate solution to support individuals coming into the business, and the other is the long-term solution that allows you and your teams to become much more aware, knowledgeable, and capable as far as embracing assistive technologies are concerned, going further forward into the long term. So therefore helping to embed accessibility as a sustainable approach for you. And then, yeah, I think that's really effectively what we're going to be covering, with the last bit as far as Q&A is concerned being vital really to hear your feedback and your thoughts and answer some of your questions. So Kim, I'll hand back over to you now to give a more general view of what we're about and what we do.
Great, thanks so much, Pete. So we are Distinctability and Brain in Hand in Canada, which we're going to tell you a little bit more about Brain in Hand very shortly as part of the ESTC program. Who we are a small but mighty team. Your core team here, our combined backgrounds and expertise are across inclusive employment, job development and navigation, marketing and communications, as well as recruitment, digital education, and technology. So collectively, we bring you Distinctability. We also work with a team of consultants in the psychotherapy space, as well as an assistive technology expert that works globally across employment and education and policy development. What we do, we work with employment service providers as well as with employers, and we help to bridge the gap to create accessible and inclusive workplaces. And when I say accessibility, from Distinctability's perspective, we don't look so much at the physical environment. We look at accessibility from how information is shared, how people are supported, how different accommodations that can be put into place for folks with neuro differences. So that could be autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, ADD, OCD. We look at those neuro differences, the mental health support needs, and we help to work with both, like as I mentioned, employers supports as well as employers to bridge that gap and help them to onboard, recruit, and hire folks with disabilities in this space, as well as put the tools, solutions, and models into making that sustainable. So without further ado, I will pass it back over to Pete and Leslie for some more information about ESTC in a nutshell.
Leslie, yeah.
Back to me. Good morning again and welcome. And now that we have, I think, pretty much all our guests who have joined us today, I'd like to say that I am a white woman with long, dark brown shoulder hair. I have glasses, a bright fuchsia shirt on, which just happens to be one of the colors of Distinctabilities. I have worked in the employability sector in the province for 40 years and have been specifically focused on marginalized population groups. So moving our untapped, underutilized labor market into the labor force. Together with Kim and Pete and our friends at the Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to also mention that we are one of the newest members to the Chamber of Commerce. We would like to provide you with our land acknowledgement today. We are starting our day by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people, past and present, and we honor with gratitude the land and the people who have stewarded throughout the generations. We would also like to acknowledge the important role African Nova Scotians and persons of color have played in our development as a province and culture and a people. Thank you. Pete, did you want to share anything before I move forward?
Nope, it's the nutshell. Over to you. Yeah.
All right, terrific. So many of you might have already encountered me in community. I am absolutely passionate about moving Nova Scotia's untapped and underutilized labor force into the labor market and dispelling myths that there is a labor shortage. There is not a labor shortage, contrary to popular belief. There is a skills gap in certain industries. And this was proven prior to COVID. The Business Development Bank of Canada released a report in 2019, clearly stating this long before the arrival of COVID on our shores. So why is this important? And why does this kind of lead into the relevance of embedding supportive technology capabilities in organizations, whether it's a business, whether it's government, whether it's a community-based organization? It's important because currently right now in Canada, there are 645 working age Canadians with disabilities who are unemployed. So every time I hear somebody say there is a labor shortage, I say, yeah, no, we have lots of people in the wings eager to become your next valuable employee in your work environment. And then I like to share a frightening statistic, and it's only just been released. So during the height of COVID, and remember, we are never going to leave COVID. We're not going to recover from the pandemic. We are going to learn to live with this ongoing health concern. 3,883,221 people became infected with COVID. Frighteningly, of that, 10% will become the new people in Canada living with a disability. So if we had 645,000 working age Canadians before who were unemployed, living with a disability, and we are now going to add annually an additional 3,882,221 to that number, that's a lot of people who are still willing and wanting to be in the workforce. And that's only capturing the number of individuals who are actually disclosing that they have a disability. Guess what, folks? I have a secret. My secret that I have never shared with employers until I became part of the Distinctability team was, I have a hidden disability. I have a life-threatening chronic illness that can wreak havoc in my ability to work some days. And there are lots of me's out there. Only 3% of individuals with a hidden disability actually disclose that to their employer. I am a white woman with a hidden disability. I can move through this world without issue, but that's not the case for everyone. And that's why EST will become so integral to moving forward and ensuring that everybody who wants to work, who is living with a disability, is in a career of their choice, following their dreams. Thank you. So back over to me. Honest to goodness, I couldn't have been more excited when I heard that the Canadian Centre for Rehabilitation and Work had actually not only embraced, but became so excited about the conversations we at Distinctability were going to be able to have with businesses, with government leaders, with employment support service providers and the disability support sector about how the landscape of disability support is going to change moving forward. It combines two beautiful technologies, Brain in Hand and Employer Connect, which you are going to learn more about in just a few minutes. The next piece of the puzzle is we're not expecting everybody to be an expert in this field. What we want to do and what we will do is work alongside you to help you gain the skills, knowledge, resources, and expertise to support the entire life cycle of a person with disabilities in your work environment. Now, remember, just going back to my introduction, and I said, you know, there are going to be 2,262 new cases of COVID every day moving forward. 10% of those individuals are going to become new members of the disability sector. So this is going to be really important for employers because the work environment is going to have to change to ensure that we have structures and accommodations in place to ensure that our entire labor force doesn't evaporate because of the pandemic that we will continue to live through. We are a permanent employment support, not only for the employer, but also for the employment-bound individual or the employee who is currently engaged in the work environment. Next slide, please. So, in case you haven't got the message yet, what we want you to be able to do is tap into that untapped talent pool that is just banging at the doors, ready and wanting to become part of your work environment. We are going to help employers learn new skills, and we're going to introduce employment-bound individuals and current employees into new support systems in their work environment. So it's think of it being as person-directed for the individual. They get to choose the supports that they have in a hybrid environment. So we're recognizing that all supports don't have to be front-facing, one-on-one, side-by-side. The technology that you're going to be introduced to today allows for that one-on-one support and assistive technology support, which actually does connect you to a human, in case you're wondering about that right now, to create this perfect, absolutely perfect hybrid support system, allowing employees and employment-bound individuals to maintain their independence moving forward their world of work. It is a sustainable, scalable, and future-proof solution to inclusive employment. And we don't want you to be scared about the word inclusive, because we're going to share with you the best practices on how this becomes a seamless integration into your work environment. Next slide, please. So now we're going to start learning about the new technologies, and I'm going to introduce you to Kim, who's going to take you forward from here.
Great, thank you so much, Leslie. And now that we have the full audience here as well, I am a white woman with, we'll say, blondish hair. It is tied back in a banana clip, and I have a cute little necklace bought at the Halifax market, and a pink sweater and a gray shirt. Not really corporate colors, but it kind of goes nicely with what Leslie's wearing. So thank you for passing back over to me. I'm going to cover Brain in Hand, the technology Brain in Hand, which is part of the ESTC solution. Brain in Hand is not a new technology. It is designed and runs out of the United Kingdom, and now in Canada, where it's currently supporting over 10,000 individuals, and they've been in operation for just over 7 years. So Brain in Hand is an extremely interesting technology. It combines professional support with a digital self-management system. So it's really a personal technology tailored to each individual person that we fully manage in alignment with the individual, as well as anybody who's their support team or their employer. And it's really to increase independent working and living. It combines personalized solutions that are available to an individual wherever, whenever they need them. From a job and employment functionality perspective, we can build in job tasks, duties, and lists, which help people have access at all times via their smart device to the functional pieces of their role, when to be in meetings, what to bring, what to do if you can't find a supervisor, as well as work integration guidance. So when you go to the lunchroom, who do you sit with? What if a customer yells at you? What if you're, not feeling motivated that day? So really about building that pieces in, or the pieces are built into it from that functional work task job, how you're managing the functionality of the job there. But on the flip side, Brain in Hand also has built into it emotional support. It combines what to do with if a person's feeling anxious or unmotivated or blue. So it really, our approach and professionally, our team is fully certified. We come in, we work with both the individual as well as the employer to understand the functional pieces, and the individual to understand what their emotional needs are going to be. We build it all into the system for the employee, for that person, and then they have access to solutions, guidance, tasks, and tools on their smart device whenever they need it, that are tailored to them. If they're still working through their day and they're feeling stressed, they can press a single button at the bottom of the technology, and it will connect them to a certified professional human support. And that can be, it can be our team. We have a team that does that, or someone else already supporting that individual, which I'll talk about just in a moment as well. So Brain in Hand allows employers and to provide innovative, inclusive, and accessible support for employees. It's all about helping people to keep their day on track. And it's very subtle, available on the smart device. But the beauty of Brain in Hand and what makes it so much more than just an app is it has that professional support behind it. It's university, it was designed in university. It was primarily introduced to university students transitioning into the workforce or transitioning into getting used to the overwhelming workload that comes when they're studying. And now there's evidence across the UK and now increasingly in Canada where we're seeing the positive outcomes that this technology is delivering. Brain in Hand is very different from any other technology solution that we have seen out there, and it has that one-to-one support. So a qualified brain and hand certified coach, and our coaches have backgrounds in psychotherapy, mental health support counselors, job coaches. They work with that individual, each individual that registers for brain and hand. They work with them to identify what their goals are, who their support network are, existing coping strategies that may exist, or things that they think are going to come up in their day that could cause them to feel anxious or want to pack up and walk away for the day. As part of the ESTC program, and something that we're introducing now, is we also work with the employers. And I'll talk about the timeline of how that works. But we work with employers as we want to understand from you what your workplace looks like, what the functionality of that job looks like, and what your workplace cultures look like, and what could cause somebody's day to potentially be thrown off track. We then build it all into the web portal for the individual. We show them how to use it so that they're fully self-sustainable in using that solution on their own moving forward, understanding now that they have access to solutions surrounding both their job as well as their mental health well-being. So this solution is both a learning and development tool as well as a support tool. It helps people, and there's much evidence, increasing evidence, that it's supporting folks on the autism spectrum, folks with anxiety and mental health support needs, depression, behavior, anger management. It's helping folks completing and remembering tasks as well as organizing and planning their time. So this is all built in, that human support and input is then all put into a web portal, which is then translated onto the person's smart device, giving them round-the-clock support wherever and whenever they need it. Again, if somebody's working for their solutions, they can simply press the red button and it will connect them to a human, living, speaking, trained, certified version of brain and hand available in their pocket. So just to give you a quick example, just to give you a quick example of an employee using brain and hand. So it can be used at any stage of an individual's career, from entry level going into a first job and learning how to navigate the workplace, to more senior level positions where people are doing their job very well and they just need a little bit of extra support. So I'm going to show you a great example of a gentleman named Ian Mitchell. Give me a thumbs up that you can hear it. Keeper and Leslie, please. If I press play, that helps.
My name is Ian Mitchell. I'm the Head of Modelling Integrity with the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. But I found that whereas I go through some really good times with commendations from senior officers, but there were then the down points where dream jobs turned into nightmares. And after the third really serious one of these had happened, I was assessed as having the broad autistic phenotype. We have a range of reasonable adjustments. For instance, I work 2 days a week up here in London, 3 days out at home. One of the other very useful things the department has provided me with is brain in hand, because that has allowed me to build my own aide-memoire for the types of issues that come up. Some of them help me just work better, and in so doing, they stop the anxieties. That I found very helpful. And I think the other thing, when there were issues in the past, or I was feeling particularly stressed, being able to get in touch with my job coach very quickly through texts using the traffic light system was actually very helpful. I think being able to review what has happened was extremely helpful, because it then helps us work out how to avoid those situations next time. But I think it's also very nice being able to look back at periods and say, well, actually, brain in hand shows that that things were going well. We have a lot of economists, so cost-benefit analysis is bread and butter. And really looking at the costs of brain in hand and the job coach, I think that the benefits of continued employment and what the value that I can bring to the job outweigh those really easily. Taking the broad view with these cost-benefit analyses is key. You are looking at perhaps 30 years of employment, which could be lost if somebody's anxiety is left untreated and they have to withdraw from work, where they will become a burden to others and not enjoy themselves, critically because they're not able to contribute those special things that they have to offer.
So as you can see, a great example of an exceptional employee who just needed a little extra help when things change, or when mental health concerns arose, that he could instantly access or have access to an individual that would be able to help him work through it. Mr. Mitchell also spoke about the traffic light system. Not only can he press a button and it will connect them to that professional support, but additionally, that traffic light system monitors and helps an individual press throughout the day to say how they're feeling. So they can go back and learn, reflect, and document upon times that they're feeling really good and what strategies they use to continue with that. Or when things were not so good, what strategies they used to put in place, that coping strategies that worked and helped them to overcome that particular situation. So just quickly, I'm going to quickly give you an overview of how Brain in Hand is set up, and then give some screenshots of some examples of what that looks like before we talk about Employer Connect. So Brain in Hand, as we mentioned, an individual signs up for Brain in Hand. They're given a digital workbook and assigned with a Brain in Hand certified professional coach or specialist who helps that person to identify problems and solutions that are tailored to the employee. That coach is also an employment support who meets with the employer to understand the job functions. They then build it all into that Brain in Hand system on the web portal, shows the person how to use the technology, both the portal, the app, the timeline, all of that good stuff. And then those solutions for the person are automatically translated over onto the smart device, whether it's a cell phone or a tablet. And then the person can then access the solutions whenever or wherever they need it. If they're not working, they press that button and there's a full support team around them, from the job specialist and coach right through the traffic lights. So the person, when they are autonomous, are truly never alone, having those access and solutions there. This is an example of what somebody's smart device would look like. So this is a screenshot of my smartphone, my Brain in Hand app. So as you can see, it's very user-friendly. The employee or the person would pull up their Brain in Hand and they would literally see what they have to do for today. This is much like their calendar. Very straightforward. At the bottom, you have your traffic light, which we've talked about, as well as unplanned activities. So those are things that could come anxious, and you just don't know when those are going to happen. So it's just the person can press those at that time, and it's all been tailored to them. So for this example, say the person looks at their Brain in Hand for today, and they're going to get ready for work. They then press, at work, they've then pressed drill down on the at work button, and it has four activities associated with being at work that could come up in their day that they have previously identified. So learning new jobs and tasks, lunch in the break room, common professional, team leader wants to meet with you, unexpectedly or planned, whatever that may be, we can plan these all in. But what is special about Brain in Hand is now when the person drills down on the activities, it pulls up two problems that they've identified that could come up with that particular activity. So this person, the activity is selected is the team leader wants to meet with them. And their problems are they don't remember what to bring or they're feeling anxious. They then drilled down on that, what to bring. So here you can, with the solutions, so you've got your problems here, drill down, you have your solutions that have already been thought of and entered into the system and can be changed at any time. So the person will then work through their solutions. So these can be a list. So this is bring an iPad, bring your notes from the last meeting, bring your smartphone, so you can access your Brain in Hand. The other thing that you can do is you can hyperlink in here to solutions. So for example, if you want to email or text or call somebody without having to go looking for their number, when your wise mind isn't working, they can simply drill down and will automatically have built in on who to email. You can watch videos if you want to check something online and connect it to this. That can all be done right within the Brain in Hand system. So that has user-friendly and the interface is very clean to keep that mind clear. Just quickly as well, this is a tool for both employers as well as support teams as well. So if you're managing a team, whether you're an employer and or an employment support organization, if you're coaching individuals and working them to press their Brain in Hand buttons, they're red, yellow, and green, you can actually go in at any given time with the user's consent and with a back-end access shared by us, and you can actually see in real time how everybody that you're working with is feeling. So if you're a team leader and you want to know how everybody's feeling or who may need a little assistance out of the day, they can certainly click down on their buttons and you can proactively reach out on maybe those folks that need a little bit of help right away. So in a nutshell, that is the brain and hand solution, which is because of ESTC, we've really been able to shape it, to transition it from working not only with employment support providers and directly with individuals, but as a tool for employers to really build in the job functions and workplace culture into the system as well. So that's brain and hand. And on that, I will pass it back over to Pete to share a little bit more about Employer Connect. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Tim. It's interesting that that video that you've seen of Ian Mitchell from two perspectives. I'll just link back to that before getting into the other key component, which is Employer Connect. Now, the example of Ian Mitchell is great because for two reasons. One, he's an existing employee, and as Leslie alluded to, some of the issues and the challenges and the impact on employers are with existing employees. And that's not getting any better as far as mental health supports are concerned. In Ian's case, it was late diagnosis autism. But here is a tool that is helping somebody who's an existing employee who, without it, would be underperforming. His capacity, his focus, his cost to the business, as he's identified himself, would be significant. And the other thing, of course, is that he's a senior employee. And most of the examples, and we have hundreds of them, are about frontline employees using technologies or using assistive tools and support. And Ian isn't a frontline employee; he's a senior employee. So whatever the situation with existing employees or new employees, then there are technologies out there, hybrid and people-supported technologies that can help and do help. And that's what we're doing. And again, just to encapsulate things, we're trying to change the shape of things here, as you're probably getting that message. It's about giving you the support that you need to be in the driving seat more, I guess, as far as using supportive technologies yourselves, rather than working as closely as historically has been the case with service providers and support organizations like that, where we're giving you the opportunity to start to embrace technologies and be capable of using those technologies and have the awareness and the knowledge that you need going forward. So Employer Connect, I'll just run through a few slides here because there's a little bit more to go. Beyond that, this is the other key component as far as ESTC is concerned. And Employer Connect and Brain in Hand are valid and extensively used solutions in their own right. But this is a vital component because it's preparing you as employers for the long term as far as the adoption of supporting technologies is concerned. It becomes a permanent reference and resource for you around recommended materials for the wider use and the wider adoption of assistive technologies. And Employer Connect was developed last year and launched initially in Ontario, and now it's available here in Nova Scotia. And the approach that we've taken is through a series of steps around understanding the business and what the likely impacts and opportunities are for the roles and the context of widening the workforce as far as a more inclusive employee base is concerned. Just to mention there as well that we're incredibly lucky and privileged to have as a member of the team a guy called Dave Baines. And David, who is a close friend and colleague of us all, is without a shadow of a doubt a global expert and authority on assistive technologies. He works very closely within the Employer Connect component of ESTC to actually understand and help and guide and steer the organizations who are going forward as far as Employer Connect is concerned. So if we can just skip to the next slide. Thanks. So here are the steps in the process. It's a permanent reference tool for you as employers who are part of the project. So we're embedding that information in there for you to access. You go through a series of diagnostic, or the organisation and the nominated individuals in the organisation who are going to be responsible for this going forward, go through a series of carefully crafted diagnostic surveys that we put together. The information that comes out of that gets analysed, and a consultancy process around making some recommendations for you in your business, in your sector, in your with your roles, as to what likely assistive technologies may be appropriate for you going forward to use outside brain in hand. And that personalised library is put together in a member area as far as Employer Connect is concerned. And you also network with a community of users of Employer Connect as part of the ESTC project too. So we're directing you and we're helping you select from carefully vetted materials that fit the 8 pillars of support areas that we've identified as commonplace with the disabilities that we're covering. So the process is enabling you to reduce time, not make as many mistakes as far as choices are concerned, and obviously save money through not making those mistakes and not wasting so much time. And an example and a view of that is on the next slide, which is that cycle of support, which is really an extension of what I've said already as far as the process of diagnostic and consultancy and recommendations, and then selection, and then implementation with our support as far as that's concerned. And the next slide, sorry, is the slide that actually details the pillars behind these 8 areas of the Employer Connect site. Are personalised repositories and microsites of information that those of your team who are trained to use this can actually have access to going forward, as well as us as a permanent resource. So that's basically the Employer Connect component of the STC as a solution and an approach. Okay, so I think, Leslie, you're going to recap really what we've said and what it all means, and yeah, how it can work.
Well, folks, I can honestly say, from being a frontline worker with individuals who have been struggling to attach themselves to the labor market for a variety of reasons, hybrid solutions to providing support not only to themselves but also to the employers is absolutely the way of the future. And it's person directed. I think that that's the most important part of this equation. It allows the individual to maintain their independence. They don't feel that they have to have a support person beside them all the time. Because I know for many of you, and I've just had a kind of a whip down through our guests today, and I've looked for, I can see that there's many of my colleagues who are working in the community who have joined us today. They know and understand that when you are different, and different for a variety of reasons. You know, it doesn't just have to be a disability, but when you present as different, there is still a 1 in 3 bias in the work environment towards people who are different. So anything that amplifies your difference makes you feel more uncomfortable. So if you can use technology in a supportive way that has you in control and command of your life, then as a white person with a disability that is hidden, I can move more efficiently and independently throughout my career. And should a time come when I am experiencing challenges, then I know that I have the support right there in my hand that can help me move forward. And for employers, certainly, There is the fear of the unknown. What is it going to cost us to implement this? And I know that Kim is going to speak to it in a few minutes, and she's also going to speak to a great opportunity we have to present to you, and we're looking for a couple of businesses to come on board. The important thing, folks, is we want individuals who are capable at entering into and excelling in the work environment to have control over their lives there. And we firmly believe, beyond firmly believe, super excited believe, that when we embed supportive technology capabilities in the work environment, provide the skills not only to the employer, but also to the employment-bound individual or the current employee, then we are going to have greater retention rates. And at a time when we need as many people as we can in the workforce, this is the way to go. The last word that I would leave you on this is the way through the pandemic is to build and maintain an employment economy. And this is going to help us get there. Over to you, Kim.
My mute day apparently today. There we go, we're off. So thanks so much, Leslie. That's great. So what happens next? What if you say yes? What is the cost of this? So couple of things on that note. Brain in Hand and Employer Connect are both readily available as individual tools. Brain in Hand has a cost of approximately, is $1,850 for the first year. And that provides a 4-hour setup session with our specialist, our certified specialist, or one of them, as well as an annual licensing fee, as well as support Monday through Friday at the touch of a button. As part of the ESTC program, this is a really amazing part, and I'd say jump on it very quickly. So right now we're actually offering ESTC at no cost, thanks to our partnership with Canadian Council for Rehabilitation and Work. We had 6 places in total. We have 2 places left for employers who would like to work with us. So if you are interested in taking part in this, and I'm going to talk very briefly about the time commitment and our ask and what you get in return, we do have opportunities to work with ESTC, as I mentioned, with us, and just a few places available to do that. So if you're interested, please let us know as soon as possible. The time commitment, because I know this must sound like it's going to take a great deal of time. We understand that as business leaders, you're not in the business of employing people. You're in the business of running a business, and employing people is very much a part of that. And we want to help support that and not make work, but support that work. So we ask for 2 hours of your time and as an initial consultation, and to help us understand through onboarding what your workplace culture looks like, what the functionalities of the job look like, so that we can build this specifically around what your needs are. We do ask that you would assign us with 2 to 3 internal staff members who will either train on the solutions or be trained as our liaisons that we can work with and help to support this project and make it successful moving forward. The training that we would provide to that group is approximately 3 hours, possibly 4, as you need it as well. We would always be available. This is looking at a very minimal time, so you know it's not a huge time commitment. Going forward for the initial project or program implementation, it would be about 6 to 8 weeks. And we would ask for maybe a 30 or 45-minute check-in or as needed, just so we can obviously manage that and pivot if we need to change anything and learn as we go forward, and support your needs. And as you go, we would be ongoing, provide support. We're always available. We have an extensive network through our NESEC work with Inclusion Nova Scotia, which is the Nova Scotia Inclusive Employment Collaborators, our resources, connections, and networks across Canada and the globe that we can help to support and input into your accessibility plans and strategies. Upon completion of the first part, we would ask about an hour and a half of your time to go through and complete the Employer Connect survey at a bare minimum, as well as a post-event or post-ESTC survey as well. The completion of the survey of Employer Connect, it would take about this time, and then the time that you choose to commit to put back in that is completely at your availability and capacity. the steps of Employer Connect. So if you say yes today and you'd like to sign up, we assign you with a dedicated ESTC program manager, more than likely one of the three faces that you would see here today as the key leaders of the ESTC program. We would ask you to participate in a 1-hour consultation in person with us, as well as complete a short survey, and that's to allow us to obviously build out that brain and hand functionality that's tailored to your workplace and employee. We are not asking you to create new jobs. That is not what we believe in. We are about helping you to recruit for the roles that you're currently hiring for, and matching and building the bridge with this underrepresented population. So we would ask you to provide us with a minimum or 1 to 2 live job postings that you're actively hiring for. From there, we would we will go out to our networks and the colleges, our NESEC network, our various contacts and resources, and we would help to find some candidates for you. We will present those to you and screen those, and then ask that you follow your own recruitment practices with our support to make it an accessible environment for that individual to come into. Again, we ask for you to assign 2 to 3 staff members as program leads of support that we can train and work with, and that's for a sustainability factor to help you on an ongoing level. So next time that you go around this rodeo, that it would be far easier for your team to do that. But that's those tools. Based on our meeting, we will provide you with a detailed project plan, and we will work in parallel with you on the recruitment and onboarding support for this role. Again, we will not overstep. We will simply provide you candidates, let you select who you think would be of interest, and then we will connect you with connect you with employee community supports, as well as the tools that we've spoken about today, and start to create that accessible, inclusive environment, working initially with this one individual. We obviously provide the brain and hand technology and support, and we help with the implementation and training for the sustainability of that. And then we ask that you work through your standard hiring process and use us as accessibility accommodations, tools, and resources. So in a nutshell, those are the ESTC next steps. So we hope to hear from you today if you're interested. Talked about that. We're going to have a Q&A, but if you are interested, I'm going to jump to that slide. Simply reach out to Josh or one of the team at the chamber, or email us. I'll leave that up for a second at info@distinctability.ca. So without further ado, that is my portion done. I don't know if the 2 others want to say anything, and we're handing over to Q&A because I believe we're close to the end of our time. So thank you so much, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Okay, so I just wanted to jump in for a second.
Go on, Leslie, you carry on first. Yeah.
I just wanted to, you heard some new language in there. So NESAC is the Nova Scotia Inclusive Employment Collaborators. It is a group of 192 individuals across the province, from Cape Breton Island to Yarmouth, Amherst, back into Halifax, along both shores, all 3 shores, I guess, of our province. And these are individuals who are actively engaged working with Nova Scotia's untapped and underutilized labor force. So that's where we are generating the talent pool to be presented to you as potential candidates for a job match in your company. The other point that I would like to just reinforce, embedding supportive technology capabilities in your business is a pilot project. As a participant in the pilot project, there are absolutely no costs to you, no financial costs to you. We just need your time to be able to participate in the training and to work alongside us as we move this pilot project through in the province. So just in case anybody was a little bit afraid that there was a cost associated with the pilot, there is not a cost associated with the pilot.
That's great. Thanks, thanks, Leslie. And just adding to that, Josh, before you come in, I guess recapping again, we're trying to change the shape of things, and only Leslie has the courage to say this. Actually, that there is no employment shortage out there. These are Leslie words. You're just not looking in the right direction. But if you look wider than traditionally the field of view, then you do need support as far as that's concerned, and technology and ourselves and ESTC can provide that support, and that's what we're trying to do to enable you to be capable of doing this and supporting people. Josh, right? Okay.
Okay, amazing. Thank you all for joining us and sharing all that information today. Such an informative session. Thank you all so much again. Let's move into some questions in the Q&A box. I see that Kim has already answered a few, but you know, if one person's thinking it, then there's definitely maybe 3 or 4 more thinking about it. So I'll read it out loud and let you folks answer it as you see fit. And so the first one is, how much work is required from the user to set up their brain in hand, like technology, like the diary, the options and the solutions, etc.
Thank you. I'll take that one. That's one I answered in the chat. So the user works with our specialist for a total of 4 hours originally, and that can be done at the user's discretion, what works for them. Generally, we do it in 2 2-hour sessions. But many users don't choose to sit, for 2 hours. So we can also do it in 4 1-hour sessions. But that simply allows for setup, going through all the technology, showing the person how to use it, how to set it up, and then as well as the follow-up to make sure that everything's going well or make any changes and adjustments that need to be made. So 4 hours, and then the person has access to do in the capacity and knowledge to change it at any time they like in real time. So 4 hours in total.
And then going forward, just adding to what Kim said as far as that's concerned, the people in your organizations who've been identified as part of the process can help to support and to continue the growth of the use of the support tool there within the organization, within the role, to expand the activities and the tasks that are in there.
Thank you both for that. And so moving on to the next one, I might have missed it, but who pays for brain in hand, the employer or the employer? And if it is the employee, does the app go with them if they change job/employers?
That's a great question. So right now, through the ESTC program, there are actually 3 spots available that we could provide the brain in hand licensing at no cost, and that's only as part of the pilot. Generally, we help if an individual is funding it. We work with our network and funders that we know, and we help the individual find funding for it. Some people pay for it on their own, or their families are paying for it. Increasingly, we're seeing organizations pay for it, and then setting up information sessions for individuals to self-refer into it, and then it's covered by whatever organization, if that's an employer or an employment support organization, because the cost benefit and the return on investment in it of either keeping that employee or helping an individual get into the workplace, the cost benefit is there for those organizations to pay for it. So there's multiple ways that Brain in Hand can be funded.
And Josh, I would just like to add in there that we are currently in conversation with a number of key partners and asking them to include the Brain in Hand technology as a fully supported assistive technology for persons in need, so that they would gain access to the technology without there being a cost to the individual. So again, being very mindful that the individuals who we are working alongside to move into the workforce, so our employment-bound individuals who have been untapped and underutilized, are obviously experiencing a lot of financial restrictions, and this might be prohibitive to them. So we are creating the pathways to have those costs covered for them.
Thank you for adding that, Leslie. And then the last one we have is, what will the cost be after the pilot?
Kate?
Yeah, sorry, the costs after the pilot, because ESTC is an ongoing solution. The pilot is being funded by CCRW. The cost for the full implementation of ESTC going forward will be, for one individual, for all aspects of the components, $3,500 to have the annual license for Brain in Hand, the annual license for Employer Connect, the training of all the staff, and the support and the traffic light service for a year. So that will go down to 1,500 per year for both going forward. If you wanted this to be something for 2 employees and 2 posts, then that's $5,000. But initially it's free, and then it'll be $3,500 for a full implementation. But don't forget, as Kim has said as well, both of these are available independently, but collectively there's a power there and there's a permanence there. As far as, you know, we use the term embedding because that's what we're trying to do. We're not just trying to provide a short-term solution for a particular individual. We're trying to prepare and arm employers to be capable of doing this on a long-term basis themselves.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Pete. I do see Kingsley has their hand raised, and I'm wondering if Kingsley, you'd like an opportunity to ask or pop the question into the chat quickly before we wrap up.
Oh, yes. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. And this is an amazing opportunity to have such a discussion because so I am Kingsley, and my company is Z-Link Technology, and we are working to create an inclusive system and enable equal participation and eliminate all gaps in terms of cultural, in terms of disability, nature of. So we are working on real-time translation to sign language, and sign language to voice, and voice to any language. And that's our technology. And so I believe that everybody should be given equal opportunity in this space, in any space you are in technology. No, there's no reason where somebody should be left out in any space. And so I believe that our technology will be able to create equal opportunity for people who are disabled to be able to have a job of their choice, work in any location they want to work, anywhere they want to work, because they have a technology that gives them the accessibility to do that. And so my question is, because we're a startup, how do we fit in your system right now? Because we're a startup, we're just starting to build our technology. How do we really fit into your program?
I think if I can just answer that, if I'm unmuted, I'm not muted, am I now? Then I think to answer it very shortly and directly, I think we have a conversation, really, and we think we take it offline and we have a discussion so that you can understand more from our perspective. We can understand more from yours in terms of where you are and where you're trying to get to, and then let's see if there is some mileage as far as collaboration is concerned.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's just to add to that, Kingsley. Whenever we talk to an organization, the first thing I say is our tech is for certain people, our program is for certain, it's not for everybody. So the more we share, and we actually host webinars and sessions about various technologies and support tools. We build ours in, but we share others. So it'd be really great, as Pete said, to have an offline conversation to see how we can collaborate and maybe get you into some of the networks and places where we're spending our time. So we'd love to chat further with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just again, just to make a point around the use of the term pilot, because we talk about pilot here, and pilot very often is something that's associated with something that is new. ESTC is new. It's a new concept. It's bringing together into a powerful entity existing tried and tested solutions. Brain in Hand is, as Kim said right at the beginning, is so successful, so well respected academically, clinically in the UK. We brought it over here. This is not. This is a new approach that we've put together in order to face off some of the challenges that shouldn't be there anyway. If you listen to Leslie.
Thank you.
That are there. So that's the point where we're trying to make. It's a pilot, but it's much broader than that, and it's not new.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Pete. And thank you for the question as well. Really good question. I do see we're over time, so sadly, I will have to wrap it up here. But thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar. And thank you, Pete and Leslie and Kim, for joining us today. We appreciate your time and expertise. And please reach out to any of the three presenters today if you have any further questions, or if you're ever interested in such important work. And I will just say a few more things about some more events that the Chamber is hosting before I wrap it up. We're hosting some more events this month in June. So next week we have a networking event at Hope Blooms on June 16th. So that should be an amazing event if weather permits. So come out and enjoy and see what some of these amazing youth from the North End community are doing. And then we have a luncheon with the Department of Labor, Skills and Immigration on the province's plans for growth, the road to 2 million. So that should be very interesting. Be sure to register for that as well. You can register online by visiting halifaxchamber.com/events. And for any of you that want to share this webinar with your friends or family, or just rewatch it later because maybe you forgot a few things, the webinars will be recorded and they'll be available to attendees shortly on our YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that. And that's all I have. So thank you everyone again for joining us today. Thank you to the presenters for such an informative session, and enjoy the rest of your day. And I hope everyone takes something from this. So bye everyone and have a great week.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks,
Josh.
everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.